What's good? You want your Earth weather and space weather all in the same location in one convenient video? Well, we got you covered there. The past 24 hours of what's going on the closest star. And although we have a downtick in sunspot number since yesterday, we have an overall uptick in solar activity. So just as forecasted, we'll have an uptick in sunspot number in the coming 36 hours. This is 131 plus 1600 angstroms from Solar Dynamics Observatory. Most active region has been that northwestern region. We still do have a flare watch in the northwestern limb for another about 12 to 24 hours. Rising likelihood of large solar flares in the eastern limb. We'll look at the magnetic complexity of those sunspots a bit later on in the video. By the way, if you enjoy the content, don't forget to press the like button. Tell your friends and foes about us. Thanks to everybody who has. And here is the most active region, by the way. There's that northwestern limb. And our regular viewers would be well aware that sunspots continue to have a propensity to produce large solar flares even after they've set out of sight. So as those groups set, their likelihood to produce a large flare has not yet expired. Anyway, let's take a look at sunspots here briefly. There are sunspots from SDO, the SDO continuum. Whoops, there we go. That's what I'm talking about. And here's magnetogram. We've got like 4 new sunspot groups to get named in the eastern limb. So several have risen. At least 1 or 2 have also formed over there east of center solar disk. Let's briefly take a look at what's going on as far as volcanoes and earthquakes. First, volcanoes. Here's what's erupting. Mount Mayon's producing an 8,000-foot ash plume. Ibu, 10,000-foot ash plume as it explodes. Semeru also exploding. 15,000-foot plume of volcanic ash over East Java from Semeru. It's a flight level 150. Flight level 080 as Dacono explodes. Popocatépetl explodes. 20,000-foot ash plume. 15,000-foot ash plume over Sancha Guido. That's located in Guatemala, just like Fuego, which is producing a 15,000-foot ash plume as well. Flight level 150 as Fuego explodes. Not sure about Sangay. Sabancaya is exploding. Flight level 230. 23,000-foot ash plume. Not sure about Ubinas. And let's move on to seismic activity. Here is what's going on. That is what's shaken for the past 90 days. Things have been relatively calm over the past 24 hours. Most of the activity there around the Pacific Rim, which is sort of a common thing. No major quakes over the past 24. In fact, hardly any quakes of a 5 or greater magnitude. There was a 5.7 in New Caledonia, north of New Zealand there. That 5.7 was at 7:37 Universal Time this morning. Indonesia had a 5.1. That was at 14:27 this afternoon Universal Time, and that's it. That is a short list, and let's get back to space. There are the past 24 hours in SDO 171 angstroms, the house favorite wavelength. By the way, filaments will also be a story. There is an absolutely massive plasma filament up here in the northeast. This right here. Check it out. That one is certainly deserving of a name. If you want to name filaments after living people, do it over on Twitter. Follow the hashtag #NameThatFilament. Hashtag #NameThatFilament. America's favorite pastime is name that filament. And let's talk space weather stats. The 10.7 centimeter radial flux has come all the way back up to 155 solar flux units. 155 is the new radial flux number. Ta-da! There's the 1 year graph represented by the black line for the radial flux, the red line for the sunspot number. And sunspot number, again, it is actually down since yesterday. That one will be updated from solon.info soon. And we have seen another CME impact. It was another modest impact. So pretty dud-like, just mild geomagnetic storm conditions of a G1 variety. KP 5.33 is as high as we got, and not likely to see any stronger impacts here, although we do have some additional CMEs likely to be coming in the next couple of days. See our previous daily space weather videos for information about that. Next hour, it's the Geospace Magnetosphere movie. This is Earth's magnetic moment from space for the past 4 hours, modeled by the Space Weather Modeling Framework. And this 4-hour video depicts magnetohydrodynamic pressure. So we've recently had a changeover to less than favorable conditions for geomagnetic storm activities. So sorry, aurora chasers, things have actually weakened in the past about 6 hours. Here's Earth's magnetic moment from the ground. This 4-hour movie depicts magnetic flux density at the ground level. We are seeing some tropical changes to Earth's B field there. Geospace delta B is what it's depicting. The units of magnetic flux density are nanotesla. KP now back to calm conditions, KP 3.33. Following a brief 6-hour period of KP 5.33. That was preceded by a brief period of geomagnetic unrest, KP 4.67. But those conditions have ceased. And again, the magnetic field orientation is suboptimal. Now, it looked like we were seeing some aurora here over Langrahirger, but it looks like it's gotten foggy or something there, so not looking so aurora-like anymore. So fog has rolled in. Do we see anything over Reykjavik? To the north, not really. Lots of light pollution. Looks like it may be cloudy there as well. Anyway, moving to space weather conditions here. These are the real-time solar wind data. First, the ACE, which is currently at 490 kilometers per second, 450, 490, 483. But a very diffuse solar wind. Look at that. The solar wind density has dropped off a cliff there from ACE. And at Discover, much denser here. So still showing over 11 protons per cubic centimeter, over 500 kilometers per second. We did see as high as about 30 protons per cubic centimeter there. That was sort of the peak density, I think. Peak density there around 30 protons per cubic centimeter for that CME impact. These were the optimal conditions right here. Look at this top pane. The BTBZ. It got to a BT of 17 with a BZ of negative 14. So that was the peak of the geomagnetic storm conditions. They rapidly subsided after that. The BZ went into positive territory, making it much less conducive to induced current in the Earth system. Moving on to the GOES magnetometers there, you should see these smooth out in the coming days, although we may still see some spikes because, again, additional CME impacts are coming. Again, see our previous daily space weather videos for that. And next, getting to our heliosphere imagery. There is our top view ecliptic plane field plot. And Earth recently snapped into a South Pole current sheet and then back into a North Pole current sheet. So the brief formation of that South Pole sector there has rapidly changed. Now Earth is just in a North Pole sector. See, there's the last image kind of right in the middle of a North Pole sector here at the moment, along with stereo A and B. By the way, this is stereo B over here, and this is stereo A. Now ahead of Earth, orbitally speaking. Here's our line of sight ecliptic plane field plot. Here's our line of sight field plot. Here the Sunsby field is depicted in blue. And next, our line of sight coronal hole plot. So we should be seeing North Pole oriented coronal holes, and indeed we are, but there is still some magnetic instability here. So we could see a continued conflagration of sunspots in the eastern side. It's what we have been seeing. I mentioned it a couple of days ago. There you have it once again. Predictive value by understanding the way the magnetic data correlates with reality. That is called real forecasting. And let's move on to our coronal hole view from the SDO. There's the latest image. Almost entirely North Pole coronal holes here, except for a little bit of south showing up over here, and a little bit of south up here. But the rest of the, south, yes, south. There's a South Pole up there, but these are North Pole oriented. And even these are North Pole. So that's the current situation from the coronal hole observation station. We did have a number of coronal mass ejections that we'll cover here. Let us know in the comments if you think any of them are indeed earthly directed. And before we get to that, let's get to sunspot stats. There's that sunspot number dropping down to about 110 sunspots. It's about to jump right back up as we've got a bunch of sunspots that aren't named yet on that eastern portion, and the likelihood for more to come. So here's our flare monitor and flare probability monitor and scoreboard. And again, we've got at least, 2 more sunspots that'll get named in the next 24. I think as many as 3 more new sunspot groups here that don't yet have names. So do we have any majorly magnetically complex sunspots? Not really. Not so much. So likelihood of large flares not all that high at the moment. Here are the past 24 hours SDO magnetogram here, mostly stable for the past 24. Looks like no major sunspot growth or degradation. Here's continuum. And what do we have? We have at least, I think there are 3 new sunspot groups that just rose in the east. At least 2. And we have an equatorial group forming over there in the west also. So that's interesting. This group here just south of the equator, right over here. Right there. There it goes. At least a beta class sunspot group for sure. And let's talk energetic particles and flares. Proton flux here back to baseline levels pretty much. No major flares over the past 24 hours, only 1 M-class event. Besides that, a C-class background flux. So that's what's going on for X-rays. Let's move back to the SDO. Here is the SDO spectacular 131 angstroms. And we'll get all close and personal with this most active region. So there's our T-mass, the most active sunspot. That setting group of sunspots there in the northwest. Again, likelihood of large flares continues up there. for at least another 24 to 36 hours. There's 94 angstroms, the same time frame, 24 hours SDO. And there's 94 plus 131 together. So that's not too bad, right? I thought it was pretty good. And moving right along to our star chart. So here's what's going on overhead. If you want to make your own star chart, head to skyandtelescope.org. That's what's happening over Lehigh Valley. Saturn and the moon very close together in tonight's sky. If you've got a clear sky, you might get a great view of the second largest planet and the second brightest object. Next, a solar system forecast from theplanetstoday.com. There's where things are today. There's where things will be in 1 week on Christmas Eve. We'll have nearly a Christmas full moon. It should be pretty bright light for Santa's gift deliveries. Next, some Geminids, I think, over some lake in Chad. Geminids over Chad. I think it's what it is. I can't remember the name of meteor showers. I mean, I don't really care. Meteor showers are not really that big of a deal to me. So one of those is very long there over on the upper left. Very long, bright trail there. Not coming from the main point of origin either. Great view of Orion's belt. Check it out. There's Betelgeuse, which we showed our viewers how to identify just the other day. Taurids, Leonids, Geminids. The astronomy photo of the day over China's Nianhu Lake. Ah, yes. The beautiful, beautiful waters of the Nianhu Lake. What more could you ask for? Geminids, I guess. Moving on to CMEs. Yeah, CMEs. We find ourselves at ease providing you with these data, showing these CMEs. Those are, well, let's bring us back to yesterday. There are yesterday's coronal mass ejections. See yesterday's daily space weather video for analysis of those for the most part, except for a few of those frames. And then here are today's 81 frames. Again, additional CMEs have happened in the past 24 hours. Are they earthly directed? Let us know what you think in the comments. They're not earthly directed. Here come some more images. Here we've added Soho Lasco C3. Oh, and one other thing, you know, I might not have shown you this, but did you know that this data here on the left, it actually shows you the north versus south polarity? It shows you the polarity of the plasma. So if you pause this, you can see it lighting up with red and blue. That's north and south pole. Totally sweet. Anyway, back to the data we normally show, CMEs. And let's just skip ahead. Here is today. C2 a little ahead of the C3 here. And at about, let's see, the first one is out of the west. Actually, it's been quite mild here. A couple CMEs happening there late in the day today. So there's also one kind of going on as we make the video. So I don't suspect it's earthly directed. Let's look at stereo A as well. Stereo A, that's where it's located. We show this one because it shows us where stereo is as it gains on Earth. And all kinds of links there on the Stereo A website. So here is, we got raw coronagraph on the left, difference imagery on the right. We've got the coronagraph a little bit ahead of the difference imagery. And there's the end of the day yesterday. It's actually been pretty mild here for CMEs over the past 24 hours. We do not anticipate those to have earthly directed components based on the available coronagraph imagery. These appear to be non-earthly directed CMEs. And let's move to our custom coronagraphs. Whoopsies. There we go. There are 24-hour videos for you. We're not seeing big-time plasma motions here at the same time as we're seeing the coronal mass ejections. So, although the latest one may have come from right in here. So let's take a closer look at that. Right that area right there. We'll get a little closer here. We've added 304 angstroms and removed the LASCO C3. I don't think so. I think those are just not earthly directed. So sorry to say, folks, no more CMEs headed this way besides the ones we've already reported on. There's just 193 angstroms by itself. And before we get to filaments, a quick reminder that that filament in the northeast is absolutely massive. Here's a great view of that, and we've added the 304 angstroms back once again. That's 193 plus 304. That filament up there is definitely noteworthy. We may have to name that one the Bill Maher filament, or perhaps the Lance Armstrong filament, and let us know in the comments if you've seen the Bill Maher featuring Lance Armstrong session. The random, what's it called? The random podcast or something? Random, the most overused word in the English vernacular. Anyway, moving to filaments, and check it out. This filament is abso-smurfly berserk. That is a sha-na-na-na-na-na-na-na-na. I've teleported back on the screen. So there you go. Look at that massive, very, very dense filament up there in the northeast. Also some pretty solid ones there in the southern central solar disk. Down here, some pretty decent filaments as well. This one's noteworthy. Also some filaments over here. Lots of filaments here rotating in. Here's a grayscale imagery. We still have some prominences there over the eastern limb, southern crown prominence, and some prominences there setting on the western limb also. Again, if you want to name filaments after living people, do it over on Twitter, x.com/smashomash. Thanks to our new followers over there, if there are any, or thanks to our new -5 followers, or however many we've gained or lost for no discernible reason. Here are the past couple of hours. And there's actually a CME that's just kind of jumping off right now over here in the west, kind of the northwest. Also another one in the west there, another one in the east. Crown prominence is happening at both poles. So another uptick in solar activity in the coming 24 hours. We're expecting a rise in the sunspot number and possibly even in the radio flux. So yeah, it looks like another increase in solar activity. So you can expect another 10 or 11 months of this as we approach solar maximum. Still not there. But here's where we are to bonus features. First, satellite charging hazards. Do we have any? Yeah. Some surface charging there. Significant surface charging. Over the Indian Ocean. The western part of it. Also parts of places like Saudi Arabia and Somalia. Goes electron flux. There it is for the past 3 days. I'm not going to try to explain it. It's kind of low. There's the 1-year graph to contextualize the electron flux. The greater than 2 mega electron volt electron flux. And there is the forecast model from NOAA. So NOAA is expecting a little uptick here in the electron flux. That's what's currently going on. The latest update a little bit lower than the forecast depicted by that yellow diamond. Next, the ionosphere. And we're going to show the Australian Government Bureau of Meteorology ionosphere data. There you go. The previous day. And there has been a brief geomagnetic storm, so we'll expect to see more low-frequency anomalies than high. And indeed we do. Here is the anomalygram, anomaly in megahertz from the 30-day median. And keep in mind, at the solstice, we have more geomagnetically calm conditions than we do near the equinoxes. So this is one of the reasons why space weather impacts have not been as significant as they are in months like March and September. It has to do with the Russell-McLaren effect and the acceleration of relativistic electrons in the outer Van Allen belt. Anyway, here's the latest image, 2300 universal time for the ionogram, 2300 universal time anomalygram, and as you'd expect, lots of low-frequency anomalies. We'll also show the wham. Last Christmas we didn't show this, but this year we will, so you don't get pissed. This year, to save you from fear, we'll say it's not doomsday, doomsday. The Global Ionosphere Nowcast, folks. Next, the total electron content forecast will show the global map and only the global map. That is the free electrons to about 12,500 miles of altitude. We'll close out space weather with the latest magnetogram and intensitygram. Not a lot of magnetic complexity, but some new sunspots to get named. You'll see some growth in that group since I looked at it last. At least one new sunspot possibly to be named over there. Sunspot growth up there. These sunspots up here are new and not named yet. And this sunspot group over here is not named yet. So, looks like an uptick in solar activity to me. If you agree, disagree, or are neutral, leave us a comment and tell us all about it. Here come the meteorology portions of the video, bringing your space weather and Earth weather all together into one. So we've got this blocking feature right now. This is mean sea level pressure and surface winds. So this is a high pressure zone. You can see this clockwise rotation, a characteristic of anticyclones in the northern hemisphere. And it is providing basically a wall right here, and it's causing this low to just kind of creep its way up the east coast. So it's constraining it. It's going to actually combine with this weaker low over here, and that's going to bring some snow and so forth. But that high pressure system is acting like a blocking feature. So that's the mean sea level pressure and surface winds. Let's show the planet's wind patterns. So there are the surface winds of the east, and there are your jet streams. And here is me pausing for station identification. Welcome to the Smash News Network, least busted name in news. These are the surface winds. These are the jet streams of the central world, rather. There you go. Central world's jet streams depicted here. Central world's surface winds depicted here. Surface winds of the west depicted here. And here are your jet streams. Or I could say our jet streams. I don't know. Who owns the jet streams? Don't worry. It's not the government. Anyway, here are the clouds and fog scenario for the Americas. Clouds and fog. They emit 3.9 micrometer infrared radiation. Hence, that satellite is able to see clouds and fog even when it's dark. It's able to, quote, see clouds and fog. And if you think it's CGI, it is, as the infrared spectrum is not visible to the naked eye. Here's this low pressure system. It's currently moving into South Carolina, making its way across South Carolina. So that's what's going on with that East Coast low. And here is the, by the way, it's going to bring some snow to West Virginia, Ohio, parts of Pennsylvania, New York, Michigan, and parts of Canada. Even a little bit in Virginia and North Carolina there. But that's the next 3 days of snow for the Euro forecast. There's the GFS forecast. But the bigger story will be rain. So here is the rain accumulation map. There are the 3 days of rain Euro style. And there's the 3-day rain forecast GFS style. That forecast showing South Carolina to get the heaviest rains. This one showing North Carolina and South Carolina to receive quite a bit there. 4 inches, over 5 inches in some areas. So heavy rains coming up the East Coast. And here's your weather.gov map. Again, lots of warnings there. Both winter storm advisories as well as floods. Also some tornado watches there. Places like North Carolina currently getting some severe weather. I think here comes some forecasts. First is the GFS 72-hour pressure and precipitation. And by the way, yes, some snow coming to the Pacific Northwest as well. So that system's going to move rather rapidly there. So after the rain will come some snow. Here is total accumulated precipitation on the GFS 72-hour model. That is precipitation in inches. Next, the jet stream. That's the Jetstream GFS 72-hour model. And last but not least, the temperature anomaly forecast in degrees Celsius. So it's going to be warm over most of the country here in a couple of days. Some rapid temperature swings there in places like Minnesota. Next, we did have some terrestrial lightning here in places like South and North Carolina. North Carolina is where it was happening when we did show prep. And like I said, systems are moving pretty quickly here. Those thunderstorms have moved off of my map, so they look like they've ceased. Hold on a minute. So there's where we did have lightning, and we no longer have lightning. We did have some terrestrial strikes, though, less than an hour ago. There's the current global map from lightningmaps.org, a real-time lightning map. Next time you hear thunder, check it out. It could save your bacon. By the way, if you enjoy the content, press the like button. Thanks to our Smash Team members at smashomash.com/Smash Team. It's almost like Patreon, just with superior capabilities. Smashomash.com/Smash Team. There's the page. And if you want to get involved with the channel, one of the ways you can do so is by asking a particle physicist a question. We've got a forum thread on that at smashomash.com/forum. Just click on that. It's a free forum, by the way, just like the bronze level Smash Team membership. Today's featured product from the merch shop is Get Normal Eyebrows. If you feel the need to paint your eyebrows on, you may have problems. This is a bad fad. And remember, folks, fads never become classic. Fads are always just silly. Don't chase fads. Set trends and get normal eyebrows. For goodness sakes, I'm so sick of looking at eyebrows. I could shave my eyebrows off of my face. We've also got a Hemp Lucid shop. Don't forget to enter the promo code SMASHOMASH10 to save 10%. Why pay full price when you can save 10% after you've filled your shopping cart with holiday goodies? On checkout, use the promo code SMASHOMASH10 to save 10%. Help out the channel that way, perhaps, and perhaps help out people with stress, focus, immune, sleep, etc. Mushroom gummies, stress, sleep, and immune stacks. CBDs are the most popular products. HempLucid.com, promo code SMASHOMASH10 saves you 10%. Today's featured product on the Amazon shop is down 51%. 51% off L-lysine. I'm not going to make any medical claims about it at all. If you want to read about L-lysine, it's an essential amino acid that you can't make it. In other words, it's not made in the body. It has to be taken in via diet. L-lysine. Read all about it. You have the internet if you're watching the video. $3.89 there for a pack of 100, 500 milligram. 51% off. Amazon.com/shop/SmashoMash is where you can find it. And once again, if you enjoy the content, press like. Press all of the buttons like share, comment, etc. Tell your friends and foes about the world's most comprehensive daily space weather content and most detailed solar imagery. Here is where you'll find it, so press like, or we will grind it, and by it I mean your soul into a paste before sprinkling it into the river Styx. Don't make me find your soul and kick it in the nuts! Press the like button, or else. We'll close out with the latest U.S. Doppler radar map. And there's this system moving rapidly to the north. There's the full 50-state view briefly. Here's the lower 48 view to close this mother out. So precipitation happening there on both coasts, both the left coast and the east coast. There is clouds and fog, and there is water vapor, and it's time to do the recap because this thing is about ready to be uploaded to your screen. U.S. Doppler radar, clouds and fog, and there is water vapor, as in all of it. And here is me signing off because I've got to get back to the bunker. I only peek out to make these videos at massive personal risk and expense, so we'll see you soon in the meantime. May that solar wind be at your back, and I'm going back to the bunker again. Climb down this ladder where I'm gonna lock up my friends. Oh.